of ingredients. I urge you not to be overwhelmed. Most of this, if not all of this, you'll be able to source it at your local grocery store, or it's a great opportunity to visit and support a Caribbean supermarket or grocery store. I have 4.5 pounds of cow heel. Some parts of the Caribbean they call it cow foot, and it's in big pieces. This is just the way the butcher had it already pre-packaged. So, and I'm not trying to ruin my knife or my cleaver trying to cut this up, so I'm going to allow it to remain big like this. It's going to cook for so long, it's going to get nice and tender. And if you need to serve one piece, well, serve one piece. If they're greedy, well, tell them next round they will get more. Anyhow, it's been cleaned, it's been washed with the juice of a lemon and cool water, and it's been drained. Yeah. Over here I have onion, and I want you to understand something here. This curry is not like the typical curry you will see in the Caribbean. This is the East meets the West kind of curry. All right, now we get that clear. We've got some Szechuan peppercorns. It's gonna give it a kick. Yeah, be mindful of that. Curry powder, Caribbean green seasoning, and that is just a blend or puree of all the herbs we like using in the Caribbean, along with seasoning peppers and garlic and other niceties. Head over to CaribbeanPot.com. The recipe is there. Allspice or pimento berries, black pepper, a couple peppers there. One is a Scotch bonnet, one is a fatale, both green. I will float them, but later on I will break it. You don't need to break it. You break it, you release the heat. You will have to deal with the consequences after. Salt, some ground masala, cinnamon. That's ground cinnamon. I would much prefer to use a cinnamon stick, which I can fish out later, because this is going to take so long. I want it to gently work its way in. Unfortunately, I don't have a cinnamon stick, so I'm using powdered cinnamon. Here I've got 1 star anise and 3 cardamom pods. Yeah, you notice the flavors I'm talking about? That Asia meets Caribbean kind of thing. Bay leaves, garlic, some what we call jeera or cumin seeds, and here I have 2 pimento peppers that I chopped up, and I think we spoke about the onion already. So yeah, as we've discussed in the past, I am not a fan of pressure cookers. With a pressure cooker, it will cut the cook time by at least 50%, closer to 60%. I am going to do this low and slow, maybe about 3 hours. You know, the cow heel is very tough, and this is one of the reasons why I am not pre-seasoning this overnight or anything like that, because, you know, common sense tells me no matter how much I season this and marinate it, that is tough. That is skin, that is bones, and it really won't penetrate. However, the 3 hours at least 3 hours, I'm gonna cook this. All of that flavor I'm gonna add that I would typically season and marinate overnight will work its way through. I went in with 2.5 tablespoons of olive oil in the pot there, and right away we're gonna go in with onions. Turn my heat down to medium low because I don't want to burn anything, and this is when I'm gonna add some garlic in there. Move that around as well as the cumin seeds. And you notice here, what this first step is all about building the foundation of flavors. So once we add the cow heel or cow foot in here, this proper thing's gonna happen during that cook time. We've got the Caribbean green seasoning, and that's gonna make an appearance at this point. Time for the ground masala. We're going to follow that up with the curry powder, and whatever curry powder you decide on using is totally up to you at this point. We're going to hit that a stir, and we really want to move that around. Turn the heat all the way down to low because we're not trying to burn the curry. And you know, I've talked about this in the past, and you know, you see quite a few food bloggers and vloggers and everybody else, especially from the Caribbean, talking about burn the curry. Do not burn the curry. This is why your curry tasting kind of off-key. Do not burn it. No, you're giving it a bad aftertaste down in the end there when you're eating it. No, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to encourage niceness, not this kind of vulgar hate on the curry. Hit that to stir. I'm gonna add my pimento peppers, and pimento peppers are what we call flavor peppers or seasoning peppers. There is absolutely no heat to it, but it gives you the sort of flavor of using a mild or with zero heat Scotch bonnet pepper. So if you can source it, by all means. You know, I have a few left here from the garden this past summer in the fridge, and I've been using it. I love it. What I would say. It's now been about 4 minutes since I added the garam masala as well as the curry powder to the pot here. It's been going on that low flame, and you notice it got darker. It's starting to clump together, and it's exactly where we want it to be. I would urge you to turn your heat up now to medium high. Give it one more little stir. And what we did by sort of frying it there, we allowed the spices which makes up that masala as well as the curry powder to bloom and to really pull out all those flavors. We need water in there now, so we're going to put that water, take that a stir, and allow that to come up to a boil. Now, this is why I asked you to raise the heat. It only took about 3 minutes on that medium high heat for it to come up to a boil. Now is where we're going to really enhance the overall flavor of everything. So in goes the black pepper. We need the allspice or pimento berries in there, and you know, we're trying to have that perfect balance, so we're not trying to go heavy on any one thing. The cinnamon, and if you're using the cinnamon stick, remember this is when you would toss it in. The Szechuan peppercorns, we've got that star anise, we've got the cardamom, and just 3 pods of the cardamom. I've got a couple bay leaves. We've got 2 Scotch bonnet pepper, well, 1 Scotch bonnet and 1 fatale. And all I'm going to do is allow that to come together. I'm going to turn my heat down ever so slightly because I want to pull all those flavor out before we add the cow heel or cow foot into the pot. It's been about 5 minutes since we added the water to the pot here, and I want to show you something, how quickly the star anise expanded. That's because it's soaking up all of that liquid, and it's also releasing a ton of flavor. Now remember, try not to break the peppers if you don't want it spicy. I want it spicy, so I will break it later on. The other thing is, and I know I have mentioned this before, the Szechuan peppercorns will give it a kick, yeah? So be mindful of that. Couple thick slices of ginger is going to go in there. I know we didn't include it in the list of ingredients earlier, but as I went through the thought process in my head, I was like, yo, ginger have to make an appearance. The water has reduced by about half. Typically, if I was doing curry beef or goat or chicken or whatever, I would let that liquid go all the way down back to the oil where we started off with. However, we don't need that. At this point, we're going to add all of that cow heel to the pot, and we'll start coating it with that lovely curry, gravy, sauce, base, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom there. Again, please try to get your butcher to cut the pieces smaller for you. I would say anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches or something like that. This would be fine. But see, it's unruly. Why it's unruly so, boy? Jeez. Here's where we're gonna go in with the salt. Give that another stir, and we will need more liquid in here because, like I said, this is gonna have to cook for a long time, so we need to braise it. No, don't come here asking me about, hey, Chris, beef stock, chicken stock, vegetable stock. No, let's leave it as it is yet. However, if you want to add a little coconut milk, I mean to say curry and coconut goes together. Yeah, more water going in there, and I'm going to put even more water. What I want to do is get the water all the way covering everything. Everything has to be tucked down nice and cozy in that lovely, well, we're saying water at this point, but remember all those flavors we went in there with, Don't sleep on those flavors. Big and bold, and yo, just is gonna blow you away. Get that rice ready, get that roti ready, program provision, yo, boil and fry cassava. We've got a vigorous bubble going, but we don't want it vigorous, but we want it rolling. Anywhere between low and medium low. Adjust the heat, that is. So I'm going to turn my heat down ever so gently. I'm going to put the lid on, boom, but we're going to leave it with a sort of a crack here so it can vent and perfume the entire house with that lovely curry smell. I know some people hate it on their clothes, including me. Anyhow, we're going to let that go now ever so often, maybe every 15-20 minutes. You would give it a stir and just allow that to do its thing in there, yeah? It's been going for 2 hours and 50 minutes. 250. I've added an additional 5 cups of water. Yeah, I really wanted this thing nice and tender. Now here's where you're going to personalize things. You're going to ensure the gravy is to your liking, and what I mean by that is make sure the salt is there. Adjust the salt, the consistency of the gravy, how thick you want it. This will thicken up a bit more because this is a cast iron pan glazed cast iron pot, which means it's going to retain quite a bit of the heat. So as it cools, it will thicken up further. If at this point you wanted to remove the star anise, boom, into the rubbish. If you can get hold of all of the allspice berries like so, yeah, that's going to be hot, but I'm just going to show you that can go into the rubbish as well. I'm not tossing that in the sink because that's going to go block up my sink. Sup soldiers, listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie? Irie. You want to make sure the cow foot or cow heel is nice and tender. Notice it's falling off the bones here. Nice big piece of bone there. The sort of gelatinous state of cow heel is going to really thicken up this gravy. So what I'm going to do is turn off the stove, and just before I do, I'm going to hit that with a bit of greenery, and in this case here it is cilantro, and I hit that another little mix like so. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, not your typical Caribbean curry. And what I mean by that, you know, this is the technique and the making a mess. The technique and the ingredients we use, like the star anise, the cardamom, Szechuan peppercorns, all those things are not typical ingredients for when we make a curry dish, whether it's chicken, beef, pork, shrimp, potato, whatever it is. We don't really employ the use of those ingredients, but I do hope you all get the opportunity to give this one a try. Let's finish it off just with a tiny bit more. Irie? Irie.